Welcome to the Business Mumma podcast, where we chat about creating a business that supports and flows with your family and with your life, not the other way around. Hi, I'm your host, Annalise Swan. I'm a marketing agency owner and a mother of 3 little ones. I'll be bringing you conversations with successful women in business, as well as practical marketing strategies and tips that you can action right away. So let's get into it. In this episode of the podcast, I interviewed Emily Jaksch. As a speaker and author, Emily is passionate about the topic of millennials in the workplace, and she is on a mission to help companies, business owners, and managers across Australia understand the generational differences to attract, engage, and maintain the best talent for their organizations. She is also an amazing mama in business. I loved speaking with Emily and diving into her perspective on starting and owning and growing a business or two. Emily is passionate and she's real and she is out to make an impact. Her bio says that Emily's focus is on assisting leaders and organizations to identify their goals whilst maximizing performance to reach their true potential. And I tell you what, that mission really came through in her energy when I was speaking with her. So I hope that you enjoy this episode as much as I did, and let's dive in. All right, welcome to the show, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm really excited to dig in. Reading your bio, I was very intrigued, and I like to not do too much digging, so I get to hear it straight from you. So maybe for those who don't know you, you can explain a little bit about you and your business.
Sure. So I started my first business in January to be 10 years ago. So I spent most of my life as a HR practitioner working in corporate HR, and I sold my soul for 11 years, as most of us do when we're working in corporate. And also the reason I left that industry and that job was because I wanted to start a family and focus on having a bit more balance. And I realised that working in HR, we're probably the worst providing flexible work arrangements for our fellow HR professionals. And I just decided I didn't want to be a part of that anymore and thought I would start my own business thinking that I can work on my terms. And if I had have known what I knew now about how much harder you work running your own business, then maybe I would have rethought that strategy. But anyway, I wouldn't change a thing. But that's initially why I got out of corporate HR and I started my first business, HR Gurus, which was and still is a HR advisory firm for the small to medium business space. So I saw a gap in the market where small to medium businesses don't need like a full service HR function, but they definitely need support. So we provide a virtual HR manager service, and that business has now morphed into a coaching and leadership business as well. And yeah, and then I've also got another business which is called Generation Us, which we've just launched, and that is really specialising in the millennial space. So I have done my own research about millennials because I was having problems managing and attracting and engaging millennials in my own business. And I started becoming fascinated with studying them. And now I've created coaching programs and I work with millennial business owners in a kind of coaching, mentoring capacity.
Great. So what is a millennial in terms of what's the standard definition?
Sure. So in Australia, it's 23 to 37 years of age. So I think that a lot of people are a bit confused about what a millennial is. Gen Y is also used interchangeably with the word millennial. So when I started doing my research, I was quite shocked to learn that millennials have now taken over from baby boomers as the big generation on record. So in Australia, there's more millennials than there are any other generation. And globally, they're the biggest generation on record. So the balance of power is shifting. I'm a Gen X, which no one really cares about us. It's all about baby boomers and millennials. But so they have enormous power as consumers. And by 2025, they're going to make up 2/3 of our workforce. So it's a really interesting time because they think differently, they behave differently, both as consumers and employees. And most boomers and Gen X business owners that I speak to see millennials as a real challenge, and they quite often roll their eyes whenever I use the term millennial. But from my research and what I've found working with millennials is that they're just misunderstood. And if you learn how to engage them for your business, they're amazing as consumers if you can get them on board. So there's a massive opportunity that everybody needs to realise.
I know that I'm in the group, but I just don't see myself as in the group. But
yeah,
yeah,
that's interesting. So you're age 23 to 37.
Yeah,
you're in the bracket.
Yeah, I'm 32.
Oh, there we go. So my research shows that millennials are really entrepreneurial and they have a certain mindset that can't be taught, and that's why everybody's so scared of them, because they're challenging the status quo, they're disrupting industries. If you think of every disruptive business that was created in the last 10 years, it was done by millennials, for millennials. But now everybody's using their products and services. So if you think about Afterpay, Uber, they were all created by millennials. So it's a really interesting times that we live in. Very exciting, I think.
Yeah, and it's so, technology is sort of the breeding ground, isn't it? Because we're doing things that we couldn't do before. Like even this that we're doing right now, and our business models 10 years ago couldn't have existed because we didn't have the capabilities.
Exactly. So the advent of technology has opened up the market. I mean, you can start a business in a day. You don't need an office to run a business now. I mean, most people are running their businesses from home. They have very low cost base, and the availability of information now is really accessible. So you can learn how to be a web designer by simply watching some YouTube videos and using somebody else's platform like WordPress. You don't need to go to school and study for 4 years to write HTML code. So things that used to cost a lot of money, like businesses used to make a lot of money out of selling services, a lot of those are now free. And that's due to technology, and it's due to, like, millennials have what I consider really high DQ, so digital intelligence. And that's why they're getting promoted ahead of some of the other generations, is because they bring this certain level of thinking and competence that we've just never seen before.
So interesting.
It is. I'm fascinated by it. I actually wanted to study anthropology when I finished school, and my dad talked me out of it. He he talked me into doing a commerce degree, and I majored in marketing and HR, and getting back to what I really wanted to do, and that is to study human behaviour. And it's fascinating. I'm about to release a book called The Millennial Mindset. So I did some research through a company called Honeycomb Strategy, and I'm using that research to write a book about it.
So exciting.
Yeah.
That's great. It's funny that you said that you wanted to study anthropology, and you ended up working with people in that sort of capacity anyway in HR, and now moving that way. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I got there in the end. And it's funny because I now look at Simon Sinek, who's an anthropologist, and I think, wow, he's like a leadership expert that studied anthropology, and I'm really fascinated with brain science and neuroscience. So really doing a lot to understand why we do the things that we do, what motivates people, and I'm really obsessed with communication as well, because I think that most conflict in the world happens because we don't communicate properly.
Yeah, I would agree. So if we can sidestep, we started talking about why you started your business. Are you able to talk a little bit about the practical side, about how you actually went about that? Did you tap into your existing networks, or what was that process like? Did you just quit, or did you run two side by side? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I quit my job and I got one big client that I was working 3 days a week for. So in the beginning, I was really selling my time for money as a service provider, which I think is what most of us do. But having that 3-day-a-week income allowed me to have 2 days to spend on doing business development and really building out what I was doing, because when I quit my job and thought I'll start my business, HR Gurus, I had no idea what I was going to sell, how I was going to do it. I kind of just made it up as I went along. And then I did that for about a year and a half. And then I got to the point where I found that I couldn't grow the business if I was working for 3 days a week with one client. So I quit that client, if that makes sense, and I hired them a full-time HR resource, and then I really concentrated on growing my business. I did heaps of networking and obviously used my own connections, and initially most of my business came through referrals, and then I got to the point where I exhausted all of that, and then I started investing in or trying all different marketing things that didn't work, to be honest. Just blindly spending money on SEO and stuff like that without really understanding the machinations of it. And then I got a coach. So that was probably a pivotal time in my business when I got my first business coach. And I really believe that everybody needs someone in their corner to support them and mentor them and help them grow, and also keep you accountable, because I am quite good at being a visionary and coming up with ideas and coming up with products and services that I don't follow through. So I really needed support to get help around that. And now I've learned, probably the biggest lesson I've learned is that if you're not good at it, outsource it. So the best decision I made was the day that I found a bookkeeper, and she's still with me now as my finance manager. As I've grown, she's grown. I've also got someone who does my marketing. I've got a team of VAs in the Philippines, so I've got 2 of those. So really getting the support to outsource the things that you're not best at, that just take your time away from focusing on growing your business.
Yeah, definitely a big help. Okay, thank you so much for walking us through that. And you're a mum as well. So when did that come into the picture?
Wow, well, it's actually my son's 7th birthday today. So, 2012, I had my son. I've only got one son, and it was a full-on time in my business. I was writing a book, because I've written another book called What is HR, explaining what HR is. So I was writing a book, I was starting this business, and then I was really trying to grow this business. And I also had a business partner at that point. I put in a business partner, and the business was going not very well, and it was really stressful. We were just going backwards, and I ended up getting really sick when I was pregnant, and I had this thing called pubic symphysis. I don't know if you've heard of that. It was excruciating. I couldn't walk, so I had pelvic instability. So when I was walking, it felt like my pelvis was grinding against like the 2 bits were grinding against each other. So I couldn't get in and out of a car. I couldn't walk up steps. I was walking like a geisha girl, which wasn't very fun. It was a nightmare, yep. And there's nothing that they can do. They just basically say you need to rest, and obviously running your own business, that's pretty much impossible. So it got to the end, 10 weeks, what was I, 30 weeks pregnant. It got to the point where I couldn't walk at all. And the doctor said, we're either going to admit you to hospital, we're going to tie you down with a sheet so that your pelvis can't move, or you just have to stay home and lie in bed for the last 10 weeks of your pregnancy. Yeah, that was horrific. And I actually blew up like a balloon. I had like edema because I couldn't move. So I looked like the Elephant Man. Fun. Yeah, my husband called me Pregosaurus.
By your description.
I know. I've actually burned all of the photos of me when I was pregnant because I looked so hideous. Like, I actually cried when I saw them after I gave birth. I was like, I can't believe that you still loved me, to my husband. Like, I've never been so unattractive in my life. But anyway, I had my son, and he was an awesome baby. He was so easy. But I think in hindsight, because I was so stressed about my business, the pubic symphysis didn't go down. It didn't go away. Like, normally as soon as you give birth, your hormones change and it leaves, but mine didn't. So I still had it, and I was still in chronic pain for probably a year after I gave birth. So that was horrific. And I went back to work after 6 weeks of him being born because I just had to, like the business was hemorrhaging. And I went back to work and I just took him into the office, which was awesome because I could. And I was just feeding him and he was easy. You know, when a baby's 6 weeks old, I see you've got 3 kids, you know what it's like. They don't really do anything. He didn't really cry. He was like the easiest baby ever. He slept in he'd sleep every 5 hours. So, although, you know, like I don't even really remember that time. It's a complete blur. People are like, oh, well, how old was he when he got his first tooth and when he first started walking? I'm like, I have absolutely no idea. I can't even remember because I was working, not sleeping, and in chronic pain. So I feel like I probably blocked it out, which I have some regrets about, honestly, because I think that I should have just really slowed down and prioritised myself, but I didn't. I didn't want my business to die, and I feel like I'd made some sacrifices that probably didn't serve me very well. So, yeah, if I've got any advice for somebody who's got their own business and having kids, like you need to take time to enjoy it. I feel like I didn't really enjoy that first 6 to 12 months of him being a baby. I was just, off my rocker, really.
Just doing your thing. It's so easy to just have your eye on something and do it, and then only realize later. We find ourselves even getting in that pattern now where, you know, work starts bleeding into the edges outside the boundaries. I'm like, no, like we said that we would do this and maybe grow slower, but have the balance that we started our business for, even if it's not financially looking exactly what we wanted, but, you know, finding that right balance. And it's so, especially if you love what you're doing, it's so easy to do it.
Exactly. I mean, I love my business, and my husband jokes that it's my other baby, and I've actually had some therapy around this because it was really full on. Like, I think that I had a bit of postnatal depression. Like, I was just a crazy person. I really wasn't myself, and it took me a long time to get back to being myself and feeling centered and good, because I just ran myself into the ground to the point where I probably lost my shit, I would say. And it ended up meaning that I didn't have another baby because I was so terrified that I would go back to that place, that my body would freak out and I would have that pubic symptom thing again. And that's probably one regret that I have, is that I didn't have another baby. But my son's 7 now and I'm 42, so I feel like I kind of missed that boat, and it's okay. I've made peace with it.
I can see why you were hesitant. It sounds, you know, ridiculous if you throw a toddler in the mix as well. My goodness, like.
I know. And that's what I thought. I just thought, do you know what? I actually need to be me if I'm going to be a good wife and a good mother. So to have another baby just because everyone thinks that I should, because think how people judge you. Like, even now, people are like, oh, so if you only got one child, I'm like, yeah, I've got one child. Like, oh, when are you going to have another one? I'm like, no, I'm not. And they will quite often say, oh, that's mean, or
my God,
Sebastian needs a brother, or it's people I don't even know, like people I just meet in business. It is unbelievable, big judgment, and it's normally other mothers that say these things, and it's not just like older people or younger people. It's everyone. So yeah, if anyone's listening to this and you've ever said something like that to someone, it's not very nice. It doesn't make that person feel very good that you're judging them about their choices in regards to how many kids. And like, honestly, I could have had fertility issues and I may not have been able to have another child. Like,
exactly.
Who knows? People are just really judgmental, and I find that other mums are really judgmental. So we need to support each other, especially in business, because it's hard enough as it is without people judging you or questioning you.
Yeah, and it's other mums. I mean, so we've got 3, and when I fell pregnant with the 3rd, people were like questioning whether we had a TV or not, and I was like, honestly, like, it's not like I've got 17 children. Like, I feel like you can't win either way. It's like,
that's it. I know, right? Like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But yeah,
the story,
it was.
butt out.
That's it. Like, mind your own business. People are just unbelievably judgmental, and sometimes even your friends or whoever it is, family members. I mean, my mum and my husband's mum both said to me, Emily, I don't think that you should have another child, because they saw what I went through, and they just knew that it wasn't a good situation.
Yeah, well, sounds like it
to
was.
be in. My mental health is so much more important than me having another child.
So, what I was saying is, it sounds like 2 years of ridiculous pain. Like, that's not an easy thing to come to terms with or to sign yourself up for.
No, it's not. No, and I've actually still got it. And when I'm stressed, like I'll always have it. When I'm stressed, it will flare up, and I know that I need to actually just put off the throttle and rest up. Yeah, like I can't do certain things anymore. Like I can't run. I used to run. I loved running. I just cannot run anymore. It's just that movement aggravates it. So it's it's a real shitty pregnancy condition. I mean, there's so many shitty pregnancy conditions, but that one's it's a corker.
And I complain. My pregnancy was fine. I just hate being pregnant. And women don't like it when I say that either. But I myself, my clothes don't fit. Like, I can't eat cheese. I can't drink wine. Like, I just don't like it. And then I always gain about 20 kilos, and then it's that year-long journey to like actually fitting back inside my pants. And for me, it is. Yeah. Like, I love the kicking and that, but I just would rather give me the baby. Like, just give me the baby. So I get it. And if I agree. Yeah, if I'd had an illness as well, it sounds like you definitely did the right thing for you.
I did. I mean, sometimes I see little babies and I get all clucky, particularly little girls. I'm like, oh, I wish I had a little girl, but can wait until Sebastian's got a girlfriend. He's already got a girlfriend. He's in grade 1. So, good luck to me in that regard.
So my eldest, she'll be 7 in Jan, so they're quite close together.
Oh, cute. Yeah. So how old are yours?
So 6, 4, and nearly 2. She'll be 2 in November, my baby.
Oh, cute. That's a cute age.
Oh, so cute. Like, just starting to talk and not doing it very well, which is everybody finds hilarious. So the latest is, you've got 2 minutes and then you've got to do it. She goes, 2 minutes. Like, oh my God. Like, you just melt.
Adorable.
Like trying to get the phone out to record it because it goes too fast.
It does. My son just lost his first tooth, so he's got this lisp, and it's just hilarious. But he still struggles to say certain things now. Like, he can't say package; he says package. Oh, I know. I should record some of these things because they're just hilarious.
Yeah. And I think it's great looking back and reliving the memories. So what does your business look like now, being a mum? Do you work in school hours, or what does that look like?
So I drop my son off at school and my husband picks him up. So he's a carpenter, so that works well because he finishes at 3. So I was working part-time. Last year I had Fridays off so that I could spend one last day. You know what? That's gone so fast. That was 4 that I was working part-time. And then I had 2 of my most senior team members go on maternity leave at the same time, which is a pretty full-on time for me because I pretty much lost it because they got pregnant within like a week of each other, and so they both told me within a week of each other, hey, we're pregnant, we're going on maternity leave at the same time. And I just remember going home and bawling my eyes out to my husband, and I was hysterical, and he's like, oh my God, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know, this has really struck a chord, and I started thinking maybe I want to have another baby. Why am I having this reaction? And I actually went down to the RACV club in Torquay, probably near where you are. In Torquay?
I was actually there this morning, yes. It's like 2 minutes from my house.
It's my favourite place in the world. Whenever I have a meltdown, I need to decompress, I go down there, and I just love that I can see the ocean from the room. And I sat there for 3 days. I turned my phone off, turned my laptop off, and I just was like, why is this happening for me? What's the lesson here? And the lesson was that I actually need to slow down and prioritise myself and my family. And no, I didn't want to have another baby. I got to that realisation. My husband was pretty happy with that because he was like, oh God, I thought we'd had this conversation. I thought we'd made this decision, and here we are again. Because he's a bit older than me. He's 46. So he was like, oh my God, I'm going to be like one of those old dads. But anyway, and from that, I decided I'm going to have a day off a week and do things for myself. And I'm put in place all of these kind of practices. But funnily enough, I'm back to working 5 days again. And I was just thinking about it the other day that I want to take Fridays off, have Fridays off. But having said that, I take a lot of leave. So I probably have 12 weeks off a year. So I've got my business to the point where I can do that. And one of my goals is that my family is the travelling Wilbury. I've got that on my wall because we love travel, we love skiing. So I very much have learned to prioritise working really hard, but then having significant breaks so that I can keep my sanity and also reward myself, because what's the point in working like a crazy woman if you don't actually reward yourself with having time off and doing awesome stuff?
Yeah, it's true. I'll be following suit with the traveling one day. we're in the midst of building our house, and it's like this seemingly never ending process, but that's okay. Once it's built, holidays will be back on the card. But it sounds like you've got the balance.
I have found the balance, but we are about to knock our house down and build 2 townhouses. So, and just getting the plans done has taken over a year. Feel your pain, because I know that I'm about to get into the crazy part of it. But anyway, I'll let my husband deal with that, given that he's the builder.
Oh, so you're sort of doing an owner builder as well.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, we bought our block of land when you'd be 4 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, we bought the block of land 4 years ago when my 4-year-old was a couple of months old. We titled on it about a year and a half ago, and we started building a year ago. And we're like a quarter, like maybe a third of the way through. But in all of that, like had another baby and building a business. And so like with how the business is slower, the house is just slower, and we're trying to enjoy the kids while they're little, and just it's okay. One day I'll have my house, and that will be great. All right. So how in your business do you choose what next direction that you take?
So I think you have to go with what you're passionate about, because with the HR Gurus business, when that first started off, I was doing what I was best at, which at that time was around building HR structure. But I've had that business for 10 years now, so I had evolved in terms of my skill set and my passion and what I was interested in. So obviously who does that work, but it's all about listening to your heart in terms of what you get a kick out of, but also listening to your clients. So what we were finding in the HR Gurus business is that people were coming back to us time and time again with the same problems, so we weren't actually helping them fix their issues. So now what we're doing is more proactive work with leadership to try and stop these issues from happening at all. So it's about, tailoring your service to what your clients want and what they need. And then that will obviously derive much greater benefits for you and them. I guess the Generation Us business, which is the new business that we've just created, that's also probably client driven as well, because all of our clients are like, how do we deal with the millennial virus in our workplace? How do we attract, engage and retain millennials? So that's where the research started. But interestingly, I've decided to focus on actually working with millennials. So working with millennial business owners who need coaching, or millennial leaders who've just been appointed into leadership roles and they really need support around stepping up and taking on a completely different role to what they had before. And that's really what we get a kick out of doing. And it's all around coaching and communication. So in both businesses, we offer similar things, but we've really branded them to niche and attract certain clients. So HR Gurus is more tailored to probably the baby boomer business owner, and then the Generation Us branding is tailored and targeted at millennials.
So when you work with business owners who are millennials, how do you start? What does that process look like?
Sure. So we normally do an initial, what we call a session one, and we get a sense of what their goals are. So we do 12-month goal setting, and then we work through a kind of like a project plan on what they need to do over the 12 months to make that happen. And then we break it down into really small steps and either meet fortnightly or monthly, depending on what kind of contact time they require. And then we break down those project plans into little actions that they can take so that they can move towards meeting their goals. So it's about helping them come up with the vision, then getting them to the detail, and then taking action and keeping them accountable.
And does motivation come into it?
I think that these people know what they want. I think that a lot of people are very confused or stuck because they haven't sat down and had that really hard conversation with them around, well, what is it that I actually want? What am I trying to do here? So a lot of the time they've got 20 different balls in the air and they've got all these distractions, but once they get really focused on the end goal and they can create kind of a roadmap that makes sense and it's in language that gets them excited, then that motivation just naturally happens. But obviously there are times when shit things happen. If you're in business, then you're going to get some knocks along the way, just the way things are. And the coaching is really around helping people work through those issues and those challenges. And it's all about, for me, helping them get the learning and then working out, well, what are the implications of this and what can I do to make it better so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, great. So then once the goals are actually set, that's big enough motivation. Getting clear, that's a really big piece of the puzzle. A lot of the mums that I work with, that has to be the first step before they can actually create this business. Like, what does that business look like? What does your ideal week look like? And how do we make your business fit inside that, even if it doesn't happen all the time? Yeah, I think that clarity bit's really important for everyone.
Exactly. No, a lot of people who start a business, like me, I really had no idea what I was going to do or how I was going to do it. I just know I wanted to start a business. And if I had have had a coach from the get-go, it would have taken me a lot less time to work out, okay, well, what am I best at? What am I passionate about? And how can I actually make a difference and help people? Because that's really the key. It's not just about making money. It's about tapping into your passion and then finding a way to serve the people that you're working with.
Okay, well, before we wrap up, is there any other advice that you would have to mums who are looking at starting a business?
I think that people need to think very long and hard about whether they're cut out for being a business owner. And I think the life of a business owner, particularly as a mum, is pretty full on, and you need to have passion and you need to have drive. You need to understand that it's a long road. There's no get-rich-quick scheme that, unless you're someone like Iris Smith, who's just created that quick flick thing. I don't know if you've seen that story. She's a 23-year-old millennial who created that quick flick eyeliner pencil. Anyway, that's a whole other story.
I haven't. Good on her.
Yeah, good on her. It takes a lot of discipline. You need to motivate yourself when you have been knocked down, you feel shit. There's no kind of support system other than yourself a lot of the time at the beginning, and it can be quite lonely. So it takes a certain type of person, I believe, and a certain type of mindset to be able to stick it out. And it's not as easy, and it doesn't provide you with all the flexibility that you think it's going to. And you need to be prepared to put in the hard slog, I would say. And I'm making it sound awful, and making probably all these people think, oh my God, I'm never ever going to do that. But I think that in this day and age, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Everyone wants to be a business owner or a mumpreneur or whatever you want to call it. But I think that if you look at the stats and how many businesses survive 1, 2, 3 years, the statistics show that it's a very, very small proportion of businesses survive. So you need to be smart about it. You need to ensure that you're not just doing it for the wrong reasons because you're running away from a job that you don't like. And I think the best advice is to get support from businesses like you to help you do your marketing and get your brand right. Don't try and do it by yourself, and make sure that you invest in getting the best people to help you. What am I trying to say? If you are going to work with other companies, that they align with you and that they get you.
Thank you so much. That was really, maybe sobering advice, but it's true. And I do talk about it, that you need to decide that you're going to commit and decide, because it's not going to be all easy, and it's going to be 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, step to the side, hang on. Now it's like, it's what it is. And so commit and decide that it's what you want, knowing all of that, if it is what you want. Because often, you're right.
And I think people need to be prepared for sacrifices, because if you've spent 15 years in a corporate job with a car park and a nice car and all the perks, that's not feasible in your first couple of years of business. You have to run on the smell of an oily rag and be really, really smart with your money. And you need to have a plan. Like, you need to have a business strategy and know what you want to achieve. And a lot of people that I work with have never even thought about setting targets around revenue or sales or measuring any of this stuff. So a lot of people start a business because they're really good at something. They might be a really good makeup artist, or they're a really good engineer, or they're really good at graphic designer. So they're great at their craft, but they've got no business acumen. So you really need to educate yourself around what it takes to run a business, to be across the financials. And there is so much free stuff out there now that you can just access everything online. So there's really no excuse for people who don't learn this stuff, I would say.
Yeah, you definitely can learn it all off Mr. Google. And if you don't want to, that's when you can hire somebody to deal with it.
That's right.
Okay. So how can people find you and keep in touch with what you're doing?
They can visit my website, www.generationus.com.au, and on there I share some of my research. So there's an ebook that people can download for free, and they can learn all about the millennial myths and how I've busted them with my research. And then we run some free events around communication, and those are normally posted on that website. And obviously I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all those places. You can just look up Emily Jaksch, JAKSCH.
Thank you so much. I feel like we really covered a lot, and your insight has been really valuable to me. So thank you so much. I love hearing other women's journeys. I think it's so inspiring and affirming, and I think we can all learn from each other. So thank you so much for taking the time and being so honest and sharing your story with me today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you for listening to the Business Mumma podcast. I hope you got some actionable tips that you can implement in your business right away. Please, please, please rate and subscribe, and then head on over to mumma.digital to continue the conversation and let me know what you thought. Have a really wonderful week, and if you'd like to come and say hi, come to our Facebook group, Business Mummas. See you there.